question's been asked many times over these last days. What's the difference between a charm, an amulet, and a talisman? And in an endeavor to answer that question, we've been delving into the nature of a charm, an amulet, and a talisman. So let's see where this story takes us today. It's the story of a merchant, a widower, who had 2 daughters. The eldest was called Aisha, and she was very beautiful, like her mother, so her father adored her. And the second daughter, who was called Nora, although she had a gentle and caring nature, was not pretty. So her father, for the most part, ignored her. Now the girls came to marriageable age, and the merchant father gave a very large dowry for his first daughter Aisha, so there were many suitors that came to claim her hand in marriage. But he offered nothing for Nora, so no one came, and because she was not pretty, there were no suitors that claimed her hand. Now in due time, the merchant married again, and Nora became her stepmother's slave. Do this, do that, fetch this, fetch that, go to the market, see that my clothes are clean, and on, and on, and on. So Nora's life was a misery. She became sadder and sadder, longing for the days when her mother was alive, when they were a happy household. One night, in her sadness, her tears wetting her pillow, she got up in the middle of the night and went out into the garden and sat under the rose bush under which her mother was buried, her tears falling to the ground. Suddenly, the rose bush spoke to her and said, "Why are you weeping, my dear?" And Nora enumerated the sadness of her life. And the rose bush said, "Take one of my buds and open it." And when Nora did so, she found inside the rosebud a golden ring. She slipped it on her finger, and it fitted perfectly. "Oh," said Nora, "you must be a magic rose bush." And the rose bush very wisely said, "My dear, in our times of greatest need, oftentimes a gift will arrive. If you say the words, 'Blessed be King Suleiman, on whom be peace,' you will have a certain number of wishes that can be fulfilled." Immediately, Nora touched the ring on her finger and said, "I wish I had my own little house with my own maid servant." Well, there was a great whooshing sound, and Nora felt herself carried off And when she opened her eyes and the whirling ceased, she was inside a house with a table laid with food, beautiful decorations. Oh, and then out of the doorway came a young woman bearing plates of sweetmeats. And Nora said, who are you? Where am I? And the young woman said, you are in your house, and I am your maid servant. Nora was very happy, and in the following days she became familiar with this beautiful new abode of hers. But then she wondered, how am I going to live? How are we going to put food on the table? So again she touched her ring, and saying the words, she was given enough gold to be able to sustain herself for many days to come. She lived very, very happily. But then one day, when her maidservant was out at the market shopping, there was a knock on the door. And quickly putting up her veil, she went to answer the door and found a rather handsome young man there with his arm bound up with a piece of cloth. And the young man said, could you tell me where the house of the physician is? I have cut myself rather badly. Oh, said Nora, the physician lives in the house next door, but he is away at the moment. But please come in. I will tend to your wound myself. So when the young man was taken into the house, Nora cleaned and bathed and wrapped and put ointment on the wound, for which he was very, very grateful. And he was very taken with her gentle voice and her gentle manner. So in due time the maidservant came back from the market and made tea for them. So the young man knew that although he had greeted Nora thinking that she was the maidservant, indeed she was the head of the household. But as the handsome young man was leaving, he said how grateful he was to her. Could he return her act of kindness to him? She said, of course, yes, you would be most welcome at any time. So the young man rode off. Now, in the following days, it so happened that Nora went out veiled into the marketplace, and an old woman who was known to be a petty thief noticed the ring on her finger, and coveting it, waited for an opportunity when Nora was picking fruit to take the ring and hide it in her mouth. And she sidled off. Now when Nora got back to her house, she was horrified to see that the ring was missing. But her maidservant said, your ring has been stolen by a petty thief, well known for her acts, but I will take care of it, because of course this maid servant was a being sent by the magic of King Sulaiman. So the maidservant went off to town, and in her kerchief she had some pepper. So when she saw the thief sitting by the side of the road, she went over to her and let the pepper loose, so that the woman sneezed, and out of her mouth came the gold ring. The maidservant quickly gathered it up and hastened back to their house, and the ring was again placed on Nora's finger. Not long afterwards, there was a knock on the door. In between times, though, the maidservant had said to Nora, "Why, this was a very handsome young man. He would make you a very good husband." And Nora said, "No one will have me because I am not pretty." But then the knock on the door, and when the door was opened, there was the young man with a cage with a beautiful, colorful bird inside. He came with a gift for Nora. But Nora, seeing him enter, went to her chamber to place on her veil, bewailing the fact that she was not beautiful. So she took her ring and she said the words, and there was a roll of thunder, and a voice said, "You have fine qualities. Why is it that you want to change your visage? But if you wish to do so, this will be the last wish that will be granted to you." Nora said, "Please, I wish to be beautiful." Again that swishing sound, and when she looked in the mirror, there she was with a petite nose, glistening eyes. She was beautiful. The maidservant came in to tell her that the young man had come again to visit. So Nora came out to greet him, allowing her veil to slip, and he saw her beautiful face. He said, "I have thought of you constantly since we met, and now I can see that you are not only gracious and caring, but you are also beautiful. Would you do me the honor of being my wife? I am a prince from a realm close by." Of course, Nora accepted this proposal, and, as had been said, the ring was gone, but she had no need of it any more. She became the princess of a realm and eventually became queen. What does this ring represent? A charm, an amulet, a talisman, or something else? The question was asked the other day. Perhaps we can remember in our story that in our time of need, when we've been brought to our knees or wept in sorrow, that a gift came. Maybe we called it grace. But looking at this story, is it a charm, an amulet, a talisman, or something else? What is the nature of a charm?
A charm is given to you. An amulet is the protector. And a talisman is the guide.
Okay.
Is that sort of...
All right. Yes.
So she gets the ring, and then it's just from there, it's just a process of the stepping stone
Right.
to get to where she's going, which is to realise that she is that beautiful
being.
Anyway.
Right. So would this render it a charm, an amulet, or a talisman?
Oh, I don't know. I think it's really a talisman, to tell you the truth.
Mm-hmm.
That's what gets her there.
That's what gets her there. Well, let's see where these inquiries and this question continues to take us without labouring it, because we recognize that in seeking the real essence or meaning of what a charm, a talisman, or amulet is, that we're discovering something more esoteric in our inquiries.